This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome again to another Schools of Regista webinar. As promised, on Thursdays, we really kind of focus in on the leadership skills and traits that we look in all of our players. At the end of the last lecture, or the last video, I asked all our players to challenge themselves to be leaders. Today, we're going to go over what does it mean to be a leader? How can you be a leader? How can we improve our teams? And how can we all be special players on special teams? And I'll preface this video, the methodology that I'm using, I've essentially stolen from Point Guard College, a basketball program that focuses on basketball IQ, but I learned it a long time ago when I was in high school, and I think it applies for any team and any sport. So I've been using it for the past few years in the Schools of Regista, and I think it can be really helpful to all of our players. And so as we go through this, I challenge you all to try to use these skills in your training sessions and think about how you can improve your team. Okay, we have talked about what a regista is. A regista, in so many words, is a student of the game, a leader on and off the field, somebody who we want to be a special athlete and special player and a special person in general. And they're trying to become the best athlete that they can become and make their team the best that it can be. But again, how do we go about accomplishing this? For us as soccer players, we have to think about it all starts on the training pitch. It's great to go to tournaments and leagues and play in as many games as possible, but you really get a chance to work with your team and to become a better player on the training ground. So this is where we want to focus everybody's energy and concentration on, because really we don't play any meaningful games in the club season until the spring anyway. So we're in November, all we have really is the training ground. So we have to think about, what are we doing now that's going to make us as good as we can be in April or May when we start playing in these really meaningful outdoor matches. And so the first place we start and try to become a regista is by beginning to shape ourselves into the athletes we want to be. Okay, so this word shape, we do this by adding 6 crucial ingredients to anything we do. So shape is an anagram. The letters in the word shape, obviously it's not spelled the way that it's normally spelled. We threw in a C in there, and these 6 letters represent 6 ingredients that we want our players to have. The first is spirit. Okay, so the S stands for spirit. The C stands for communication. The H is for hustle. The A is for approach. The P is for precision. And the E is for enhancement. So today we're just going to go through each one of these letters and just talk about what each one of them means and how to apply it to your own leadership style and your own playing style. Okay, so let's go over spirit first. And what do we mean by spirit? Spirit is very specifically defined as noise. A successful team must practice in a noisy, spirited atmosphere. So we want to be loud on the court, we want to be loud on the field. It's really as simple as that. Knowing we all have different personalities, some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts, some of us are a mix in between. You can always expect that given anybody's personality, their emotions, their energy, each individual will experience some downtime or not at their best time during the course of practice, right? We all have bad days. We all come to practice sometimes and we have a bad day at school, or something's going wrong in a relationship at home or with our friends, and we just don't have a good day. But this is much less likely to happen or at least affect what's going on the court in an environment where special efforts are being made to uplift each other. So if you're having a bad day or something's not going right for you, if you know when you go to practice that that environment is going to be upbeat, positive, encouraging, very likely that's going to uplift your mood. Rather, if you're going to a practice where you know it's going to be quiet, where everybody's kind of on edge, it's a little negative in there, you don't feel like you're ever getting congratulated by anybody, you don't necessarily want to go and practice soccer on a day where you're not feeling very well. And we say this all the time, a quiet field is a loser's field, or a quiet court is a loser's court. You know, it sounds a little bit harsh, but I think it's really true. If you walk out on the court of the training session, you want it to be loud. If you go to any championship team or any special team, and certainly any professional team, you go and watch their practices. It's loud, it's competitive, it's intense. If you go to a team where it's very quiet, they're usually a team that isn't doing very well. There's many ways to uplift athletes, and certainly with wearing masks, we've had to figure out different ways to uplift each other and our teammates. So there are many ways to uplift athletes, but not many of them can be accomplished in silence. Okay, so we really have to internalize that. When we go to practice, we have to uplift our teammates. And the only way that we can do it, the best way that we can do it, is to create an energy or an environment of noise. It's important that every team member understands this, okay? It's no good if only 2 or 3 players are trying to be loud, or if 1 player is trying to be loud. Believe me, I've stood in the middle of teams and tried clapping myself, and nobody joins in and claps, okay? So it's important that every team member understands that it's their responsibility to contribute some type of noise to the practice atmosphere. And that's why it's so important to try to get all of our players to watch this. And certainly if players haven't been watching it, the players that are watching it, can you go to your practice and encourage your teammates to contribute that noise to practice? It does really only take 1 leader to remind everyone over and over again of that responsibility. Okay, so it's not just something that you can say at the beginning of practice and expect it to happen the entire time. You have to keep going over it and over it and over it and remind your teammates, okay, let's clap. Okay, let's make some noise. Let's get let's get our teammates motivated. Let's go, let's go, let's go. It always has to be a reminder. And can you be that 1 leader, right? Or can there be multiple leaders on your team adding those reminders in? So that's spirit. So that's the S. The next is C, which stands for communication. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard a coach say the team needs to talk on the field more? Yeah, I think every single coach says that. You know, the reason that they say that is because they know a loud field is a winner's field, and communication elevates the human experience, okay? Good players, leaders, and those truly want to win championships and maximize their team's potential have to get in the habit of reminding their teammates constantly, okay? The better a team communicates, the better it plays, okay? And we like to focus in on this one kind of idea. Have you ever watched a game or been a part of a game and a team goes through these unexplainable lapses? Like, you know, they know what they should be doing, but they just don't do it. Why does this happen? Why do we go through these lapses in a match? Where we can be really well drilled on what we need to do, but we lose our concentration for a split second and the other team goes and scores, okay? Teams need reminders, okay? It's the easiest thing in the world after a play has happened to shout out, why didn't you shoot when you had that opening? Or why did you let that player get onto their left foot when you know they're left-footed, right? Good players might even think they're just being good competitors and helping their teammates by doing this, right? After the fact criticism. They might be a good player, but if they do this kind of after the fact correcting, then they might not be a very good leader. or competitor. Why? Even the guy sitting in the stands who doesn't know anything about the sport can do the same thing. Okay, right? So if you're yelling at teammates because they let number 7 in on their left foot and let them in and scored, and then you yell at your teammate after the fact, well, why did you do that? You're doing the same thing that anybody in the stands can do. Okay, if you want to be a special player, if you want to be a great teammate on a great team, you have to be able to give reminders before things happen. Okay, so if you remind a teammate to do something, they are a lot more likely to do that than if you leave it to chance, right? What wins games and leads a team is the ability to tell teammates the things that need to get done before they happen. Many players know at least some of the things that need to happen during a game. Few are in the habit of offering timely reminders before those things occur. So if you really want to have a positive impact on your team and make a real difference in actual performance, you have to do better than tell your teammates what they should have done, right? Get out of that habit. Don't tell them what they should have done. You have to tell them what they will need to do, okay? And again, here's an example. Remind a teammate, again, that number 7 likes to cut in to use their left foot to shoot, and make sure to force them to their right side. If you tell your teammate to do that before it happens, right, there's much less chance that number 7 will get a shot off on their left foot next time if they get the ball, okay? Even if you know that your teammate knows that that player is left-footed, if you remind them, you're guaranteeing that they won't forget it for that split-second lapse. Okay, and a suggestion I have for all players after a game, whether you win or lose, go over in your mind or specifically on video if you can, all the reminders you made. Think of all the things that happened or failed to happen and how you could have made or how you could have had an impact if you had a do-over. This will pay dividends since in sports the same things happen over and over again. Okay, so whenever you complete a game, just go back over in your mind and think of all of the things that happened. You see those things happen over and over again in matches. So can you start to get in the habit of reminding teammates before it happens? Another part of communication, so the reminders are obviously great things and you really want to get in the habit of it. But how are you specifically communicating those reminders or just how you're talking to your teammates? And we use another anagram, this word NITE, to remember the 4 important keys to good communication. Okay, so NITE, NITE communication. So when you're talking to somebody, how can you make sure that your message is getting across? N, names. Use a person's name and you get their attention immediately, right? You call out somebody's name, they look. You put them in the spotlight or you're putting them on the spot. Okay, so it could be an encouragement or you could be calling them out about something. Magnify their responsibility and get them to pay more attention. Okay, do their best. So if you say their name, okay, that is immediately going to get their attention. The I stands for information. So give information. Don't just chatter, right? So we don't want somebody out there that's just talking, but it's just nonsense. Say things that are pertinent to the action of the moment. Remind a nervous person to relax, but take it a step further. Tell them how to relax. Breathe deeply. Let it out slowly. Close your eyes. Make a fist. Clench it hard. Let it go. Imagine a peaceful scene, right? Much better than just saying relax. Similarly, you can urge your teammates to concentrate and go a step further with that informative detail. Use your front foot to receive. Kill the ball and play from the spot to give yourself more time. Check your shoulder before you get the ball. Make sure you are checking to the ball hard. In every phase of the game, in every single sport, there's an abundance of information that can be communicated, which will help an athlete perform better. Right? So be specific with your information. So you call out the player's name, give them that specific piece of information, and be mindful of the tone of voice that you're using. Tone of voice is important because most people feel excessively criticized and underpraised in general. I think we're immediately defensive when we're out playing soccer, which to be frank is a difficult thing. And so we're a little insecure about what's going on. As a result, many athletes tune out or rebel against negative criticism. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of anyone giving negatives, but I think that if there are any negatives, it should be left to the coach. Okay, teammates should learn how to communicate with each other always in a positive, encouraging tone of voice. It's a lot easier to listen to, right? So if somebody's talking to you in a positive voice, it's easier to listen to over and over again. And helpful communication is so valuable that any good athlete needs to care about making their communication welcome. Okay, so your tone of voice, make sure that you are positive with your tone of voice, even if you are delivering a criticism, which I don't think you should be doing to your teammates anyway. But even if you are delivering bad news, if you say it in a positive tone of voice, it's going to land better anyway. Even if you are giving instructions, if you're saying it in a negative tone of voice, it's very likely that your teammate is just going to tone it, not even listen to what you're saying anyway. And the last one is eye contact. Okay, and I think in the world of wearing masks right now, eye contact is really important when you're speaking to somebody. It's important in nearly all forms of communication. It's something we definitely get into further. But the bottom line is that any level of trust is strengthened through eye contact. So again, say their name, right? And if you're new on the team or there's new players on your team, make sure you know everybody on your team's name. Okay. Give specific information, positive tone of voice, and eye contact. Light communication. So that's S and C, and now we're on to the H, okay? And I think this is pretty obvious, but people, you ask somebody, do you think hustle is important in being good at a sport? And I think everybody would probably say yes. And I would probably also say that nearly all athletes hustle in games. Even selfish or lazy athletes will hustle in games because they want to look good in front of a crowd, which is obviously something we all want to do. But most athletes deep inside, even though most are smart enough not to admit it to their coaches, believe they can take it easy in training or relax in practice and then turn it up a notch for the game. And they're right, okay? They're right. You can flip the switch and be better in a match than you are in training, okay? You totally can. You can push your level of hustle up a notch for games, but you won't push your performance level up a notch unless you learn to hustle in training, okay? So think about who you want to be, what type of player you want to be. Do you want to be a fairly average player who, yes, can switch it on for games, but will never be better than that level that they are today? Or do you want to be somebody who continues to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to be better? You'll never be able to do that if you subscribe to the light switch idea that you can just flip the switch. You'll never be able to do it. Any hope you have to function as a leader will be lost if you try to communicate and add spirit to your team's practice sessions, but then you're dogging it on the training pitch yourself, right? So think about S and C, all right? Those two things that we just went over. If you are preaching that to your teammates and then you go out on the court and you're being lazy and you're not working hard, right? Your teammates are going to be like, what is that? What are they talking about? I'm not listening to what they say. They're not even trying hard out here. You have to set the standard for your team, okay? You have to lead by example and be visible. You have to rush from activity to activity or drill to drill as though maximizing time matters, because it does. Think about it right now. We have less than an hour on the court together each week, right? Less than 1 hour each week on the court. So any seconds wasted on not paying attention or not hustling in practice is a huge, huge loss, okay? Slide to prevent the ball from going out. Maybe not on the concrete, but certainly you know what I mean. Really work on it. Throw your body in front of the ball to block a shot. Bust your lung running down the wing to get in position to score or to draw defenders out of position. Show a sense of urgency always. Whether you're playing on a Saturday morning pickup or Thursday or Tuesday night street soccer, or whether you're competing last Saturday in a state championship. Do you want to be somebody who, no matter what it is, you show up and you give your best all the time? I think it's a really admirable trait, but only special players are able to do it. Turning hustle on and off just sets a lousy example, and it guarantees that your and your team's improvement will be very limited. Okay, so hustle, but not just in the game when the lights are on and the crowd is out. Hustle in training, and you'll see your team's level of play continue to increase. Okay, so that's SCH. Now we're on to the A, which is approach. And this, for the School of the Regista, is very important because how we approach the game, how we approach soccer, how we approach school is very, very important to everything that we're trying to do. So ask yourself this question: do you have a serious approach to the game? Okay. Do you have a serious approach to the game? Now, warning, a good coach finds almost every athlete's approach to the game is inadequate. Okay. You might think that you have a serious approach to the game, but when you go to training, the coach may see what's going on and they say, you know, that so-and-so is they're not really that serious about it. And I'm here to help you change your coach's mind, and change our mind, certainly, because I'm obviously a coach as well. Approximately 99% of the athletes I have coached, when we are in training and we're doing a scrimmage, we're playing small-sided, and if that athlete isn't involved, so they're waiting to get on next, or something like that, a lot of times I've seen athletes or the players just grab the ball and go off to the side and just start juggling and not pay attention to what's going on in the scrimmage or the game. Even the most dedicated players I've seen do this, and a lot of times they think they're taking a serious approach to the game, because they say I'm not even involved in the action, so I grabbed a ball and I tried, you know, improving my juggling skills. Okay, I'm actually trying to maximize my time out here, and that's wrong. Okay, it's wrong. On the training pitch, when your team is practicing, you don't maximize your time, you're maximizing the team's time, right? We have this online program, and every day I'm asking you to try to get as many juggles as you can. So you could be juggling all the time when you're not in team training. When you're in team training, you're focusing on what's going on, even if you're on the sideline, right? How can I help out my teammates, even though I'm not directly in the action, okay? Plus, don't let yourself be fooled. There's no way you can have the same impact working for a few isolated moments here and there, juggling or passing, as you can have as being an intelligent observer commentator, okay? And we'll get to that. Keep your eyes glued to the action and demonstrate that you understand the intelligent observation commentator principle. Okay, so this is how we spell approach. Okay, IOC, intelligent observation commentary. Okay, so we're challenging all of our players to be an intelligent observation commentator. All right, and to be able to pick out specific things that are going on during a scrimmage or a game, and then talk to their teammate and just give them a little encouragement or advice for what they see. Okay, and the best way I can explain this is to use or explain the importance of this is to use Leo Messi or Alex Morgan. Pretend that just for a moment, that they are at a game you're playing in. Okay, say their son or their daughter are playing in a match that you're at, legends of the game, and you look over in the stands and they're over there. Imagine this too. What would the difference be between them off to the side? Okay, so they're at your game, but they decide to go off to the other field, just to juggle the ball around and maybe walk their dog or something, versus them watching your game and noticing some little things you are doing to help your team in a special way, and then going and telling you these things that you did and congratulating you on those things, which would be more meaningful to you. Yes, obviously, if they went and watched you and picked out some great things that you did in the game and then told you about it, right? It would mean the world to you. Anyone can have that impact on somebody, okay? You don't have to be Leo Messi. You don't have to be Alex Morgan, okay? Anybody can have that kind of impact. The more astute observer, the more meaningful the difference. So if you are a teammate watching from the sidelines and you're picking out little things that your teammates are doing, and then you're telling them about that, that can really go a long way to somebody. And go back to the beginning, in spirit, you know, how you can make a difference with your teammates and uplift your teammates. Doing that can pick up somebody's entire practice. So if you can be that player who's picking out things that your teammates are doing and then telling them about it, you can make a huge difference in that person's practice and just also their life. It's an uplifting thing when something happens like that. Your careful observation and comments can mean a great deal to the participants in any game that you have ever had the opportunity to watch. You can offer instant commentary and reinforcement for little things that go on but are rarely noticed and complimented. Okay? So instead of being, you know, that guy in the stands that criticizes everybody after the play, right? Can you be the person that's picking out the little things that maybe nobody else sees, but because you are a student of the game, you pick it out, and these are specifically maybe good habits that you see in your teammates, and you reinforce it by encouraging them. For example, preventing the split. Okay, so if your team is working on defensive principles, okay, and they're scrimmaging and you're on the sideline and you're watching them play, and you see that the ball wasn't necessarily played, but because your teammates' positioning was so good, they prevented the other team from trying to play a penetrating pass through the defense and instead pass the ball sideways or pass the ball backwards, right? You see that play happen, you say, hey, so-and-so, that was a great job. You were covering your teammates back very well. It prevented the other team from being able to split between our defensive lines, right? Finding those little details can really, really go a long way. So when we talk about approach, okay, so when we talk about approach, I want you to be thinking about how do you spell it? And it's IOC, intelligent observation commentary. So when you think about, do I have a serious approach to the game? Am I the player on the sideline juggling the ball when I'm not directly involved in the action? Or am I the player on the sideline that's making a difference even though I'm not directly involved in the action? Right? Am I the intelligent observation commentator on the sideline? Am I giving positive reinforcement to my teammates? Okay, so the next is the P, the precision. There's a second law of thermodynamics that basically says that things will tend towards disorganization. There are probably fewer than 1 in 1,000 athletes who make a serious attempt to get their teammates to strive to improve each day in practice. It definitely isn't easy. Athletes fall victim to that second law, okay? As you practice, as you do things over and over again, they actually tend towards disorganization. We let our performance fall off. We as humans are lazy by nature. Maybe everybody is. This is something we have to fight against daily, if we plan to be a real leader who takes their team to a high level. This principle crosses naturally into sports, this tending towards disorganization. Most athletes are going to concentrate on a new drill the first day that they do it, and once they understand the concepts being taught, are likely to perform reasonably well. Unfortunately, with added practice, most drills get worse instead of better. We want to be precise, every drill, every practice. Even if you're familiar with the drill, are you doing each repetition as good as you can do? And this is really important. The only way to consistently beat more talented competitors is to practice more diligently. So when you meet in a match, your execution is clearly superior. Now, I'll tell you this, in Central Vermont, because we have such a low population relative to a lot of the other teams that we play, whether it's in Chittenden County or out of state, we're at a competitive disadvantage. And we're also at a competitive disadvantage because it snows here all the time and we don't get as much time to train, all right? So the only way that we can consistently beat these teams that I'll be honest, that might be more talented because of the size of their populations or because of the time that they're able to spend on a training pitch. We have to counter that by practicing more diligently and to be more precise. So we have to take this attitude when we get into training that if I am trying to be as precise as possible, if I'm focusing on what I need to do every second of the training session, that if we can continue to do this and I can get my team to do this over and over again, that we can actually go and consistently do better than other competitors. Training sessions must be filled with consistent mental and physical effort to improve, okay? It sounds like a no-brainer, and it sounds like something that we'd all like to do. But really, if we're being honest, people go to training sessions and sometimes they check out for 20 minutes of that training session, or they don't feel like they want to run as hard that training session. And certainly putting those two together, the mental and physical effort, which is difficult, certainly sometimes it doesn't happen either. And I'm here to tell you that if you want to go and compete against the best teams in Vermont or against the best teams in the Northeast, that you have to come to every training session and be consistent mentally and physically if you want to improve. Because the bottom line is that most athletes practice their sport so inefficiently. The majority of athletes will practice their sport so inefficiently. But if you understand that, it's great because then there are abundant opportunities for success for those people who really do make the commitment to do sports right, okay? So if you're committed to being a soccer player, you want to be the best soccer player that you can be and certainly stand out relative to other soccer players. Understand that other players maybe don't have the information that you do and they're not practicing as efficiently as you are. So if you're making that effort to be mentally and physically concentrated, it can really, really go a long way, no matter your starting level of talent. So that's the P, and the last one is E, okay? And this is what we call enhancement. And now it doesn't make much sense to talk about improving something until you have first made it right or adequate, or at least covered the basics, okay? So when you are shaping a drill or a game or something on the training pitch, you first have to talk about adding spirit, communication, hustle, approach, and precision to it. And now we're at enhancement. And of course, enhancement means to make something better. But if you can't get the spirit part, if you can't get the communication part, the hustle part, the approach part, the precision part, then you don't even get to the enhancement part, right? Because how can you make something better if it's not already at its best? Okay, so focus on the SCHAPE, and when we're able to fulfill all of those, then we can start to focus on the enhancement. So how do we enhance something? First of all, if you're doing something quietly or slowly, then an enhancement to that is to do it louder or faster. Okay, but if you really want to be special, really want to push to the next level of performance, you have to think about not just meeting requirements, but how you can do things even better. Okay, and this should be kind of your mantra when you're at training. All right, not just doing what your coach asks you to do at the level that is expected, but how can you do it above and beyond, right? How can you go on to the next level? One suggestion, and I try to do this as a coach, I try to set up training sessions this way, but make a game out of everything you do on the pitch. Okay, make a game out of everything you do on the pitch. And how do you do that as a player? If your coaches are doing it, well, if you're doing a passing activity, so just a basic passing back and forth activity, count how many times your group can make a clean pass and receive consecutively. Try to beat the other group, right? If you're a group of 4 or a group of 2 or 3, and there's another group of 2 or 3 over to the left of you, challenge them to see who can get the most passes in a row. Okay, who can do it the cleanest. You don't need permission from coaches to do this, right? If my players start doing that on their own, I love it. Okay, I love it. It means that they're engaged. It means that they're trying to do better. It means that they're having fun. Okay, and that's obviously something that we wanted to do. So if you're doing some drill or activity, try to make a game out of it, whether it's in your group or against another group. Be creative. Set a target for your team. So, for instance, if you're playing a 10-minute scrimmage, see if your team can score at least 2 goals, right? Set those goals for yourself. Adapt to the activity and challenge yourself. One thing I really like is when you start to give out style points. Somebody nutmegs somebody, you might say, hey, I give that nutmeg a 9 out of 10. Would have been better if you scored after it. It would have been 10 out of 10 if you scored after it. And if they say, who made you the judge? You just say, you did. I make the rules. Just do it. Just start calling out numbers. Give out style points. It doesn't really matter what you say. The important thing is that you are involving your teammates in the activity and creating a sense of importance about what they are doing, right? If you make a game out of something, it makes it more important instantly. It doesn't have to be on the field either or on the court. It could be who can pick up the field the quickest, or create some kind of special award or trophy or something that you pass on from player to player each practice or game, or creating some wristbands or gifts to bring to your teammates at practice to award them for doing something. Anything that is going to make it better, right? Make the training session better, make the passing activity better. How can you enhance something? And most importantly, how often and how consistently can you bring this mindset to your training sessions? If you do it once, great. But if you don't do it the next week, what did it mean? All right, not too much. We want to be able to do things consistently because remember, in order to compete against the best teams in Vermont, the best teams in the Northeast, to be the best that we can be, right? To be at the level that we can, the level that we can be at, we have to be precise and we have to enhance what we do. Okay, so that's the session for today, for Thursday. A little bit on the longer side, but I think it's an important introduction to what it means to be a leader, and how you shape yourself into being a Regista in a special player. So I hope it's useful for you. I certainly want to see players out on the court or out in the field using these tools. I want to hear loud training sessions. I want to hear players communicating with each other, using night communication. I want to see players with serious approaches to the game, right? Being intelligent observation commentators. I want players to be precise. I want them to focus on every touch. I want them to be efficient with their game, because yes, we want to have we do want to have good teams, but I want to see each and every one of you, each and every one of our players, become the best player that they can be, and you have to be precise at that. And then lastly, I want to see the enhancement. I want to see you having fun with your team. I want to see you making the most of everything. I want you to I want to see you making your teammates feel like what you're doing is important, because it is. I love going to watch all of you play. I love to see you having fun. Um, and it brings me so much joy to see players get the same fulfillment out of playing on a team, and playing soccer that I feel all the time when I'm with my teams and when I'm playing soccer. So hopefully you're getting a lot out of this video. I certainly encourage you to kind of write down SHAPE and what it means to you, and some ideas on how you can improve your training sessions, and what you can do, and kind of evaluate how you did after a training session. Um, so yeah, great job, and I'll see you soon.